Hey, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look and listen to the brand new Shure MV7 podcast microphone. This mic dropped about 10 days ago as of the time of this recording on November 5th, 2020, and there's already a zillion videos on it on YouTube, but I figured what the hell, I might as well do one as well. I've already done a comparison between this mic and the venerable Blue Yeti. So if you want to, if you're interested in that comparison, be sure to check out that video. I'm sure I'll link it on the screen or in the description. This is a brand new mic marketed toward or targeted at podcasters. It says so on the box, but you can clearly use this mic, just like anything else for different use cases. Shure's mics, especially the SM7B, have been really popular with podcasters and YouTubers and streamers. So I guess Shure decided, hey, what the hell, let's just make a mic that is more targeted at them directly. This mic is a little bit unique. It's not the only mic that does this, but a special feature that it has that differentiates it between, its more standard mics like the Shure SM7B is the fact that you can record via USB and XLR. And you can record over USB and XLR simultaneously, which is what I'm doing right now. So if you have a use case for that, if you can think of something to do other than record comparison videos on YouTube, then hey, that's pretty cool. The fact that you can run this over USB makes this a real plug-and-play microphone. You don't need to have any other dedicated audio equipment like a mixer or any other sound recorder. You can just plug it directly into your computer. You can use it with smartphones and tablets, although there are some, I think, iPads that it's not yet compatible with, but since it is a USB mic, there is a possibility of firmware updates that will improve compatibility. Shure has some other USB microphones, and they developed an app called the Shure Plus Motive app, and you can download that for free. There's a Mac and Windows version, as well as an iOS and Google Play Store version, or Android version, whatever. Yeah, so it has a lot of great functionality, and aside from the fact that you have to register your email address in order to download it, there's really no downside to getting it, so I would recommend doing that. And we'll take a look at the app and the different functionality that you get with it. As far as what comes in the box, you obviously get the mic, the included windscreen, and the yoke for the mic. All of that comes pre-attached, pre-assembled, essentially. It also comes with two USB cables, a micro USB to Type-C cable and a micro USB to Type-A. And both of those are about 10 feet long, so plenty of cable length. There are a lot of complaints already surfacing about this mic, the fact that it uses micro USB as opposed to USB-C. The mic also comes with a brass insert that you can thread into the bottom of the mic to adapt it to different mic stands and boom arms. Essentially, the only thing you're going to need to buy in order to get this mic operational is a stand or a boom arm. Okay, next let's talk quickly about the physical features and the build quality of the mic. The housing is all metal, the yoke is metal. It feels extremely durable and extremely well made. Just slide the windscreen off here. The capsule is underneath another metal windscreen, and the metal windscreen has some more foam inside of it to help reduce plosives and kind of breathy noises. But this windscreen, the foam on the front of it is pretty thin. I could easily poke my finger through it. So this mic doesn't do a great job of rejecting plosives, which is kind of that popping sound when you say P's and B's and sometimes T's even. So maybe in the future there will be an upgraded windscreen, or maybe it's compatible with some existing windscreens, just need to be around this size. On the back of the mic, there is the micro USB as well as the XLR input, and there's also a headphone out so you can monitor the levels of the mic directly in real time. So there are a lot of comparisons between this mic and the SM7B, and Shure has even made some comparisons itself in its own marketing material. So it's not really a direct replication of how that mic sounds or how it's built even. Just by looking at the capsule, the SM7B has a capsule much further back from the end of the windscreen, and whereas this one, as you can see, the capsule is right in front. So it definitely has a different quality to it. The SM7B, since the capsule is much further back from the front of the windscreen, you really have to be really close to it in order to get the best sound from it, whereas this one you can back off a few inches. Now, there are some physical controls on this mic as well. You can see these green lights here. So when this mic is powered over USB, you get the option to control it on the mic. When you're just running XLR, you lose the physical controls of the mic. They only work over USB. You can slide your finger across this surface in order to control the levels of the mic itself, so the gain of the mic. And then if you hit that button, when it turns orange, you can control the levels of the headphones. So if you did have headphones plugged into it, you can control the volume of that. And then if you hold down that button for about 3 seconds, you can see it's half green and half orange. That allows you to adjust the monitor mix. So if you have other sound going on during your show, whatever it is you're doing, like some music or sound effects or even other guests, you can adjust how much you're hearing that mix versus how much you're hearing your own microphone. So once again, you can just slide. Now I'm hearing, if I had headphones, I'd be hearing my mic. And then if we had a mix, I would be hearing more of the mix. You can see here, you can't just slide, one time to go from like all the way up to all the way down. You have to slide repeatedly to get all the way from one end to the other. And then over here, so now I've muted the mic over USB. And then if you hold the mute button and the toggle button for 3 seconds, you essentially lock the mic. Furthermore, the app is also locked as well. So you can't change anything on the app until you disable the lock. The controls work fine. I think the downside of it is that you have to be looking at it. There's no way to really feel. You can feel a little bit, but I think maybe working the slider, the volume, or the level slider would work okay without looking at it. But in order to mute it and also to toggle, you'd probably have to be looking at the mic. It's not something you'd probably be doing during a recording very often, so that's probably not a huge deal. And as I touch it, I'm not sure if it really picks up any of that sound. So maybe that's a good thing as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the app. So you essentially have two ways to control the mic. One that's more like auto, which sets the gain for you. And then if you go over to the manual settings, you have the opportunity to set the mic gain. So you can hear how it's changing the levels of my audio. And then you can also see that's being reflected on the mic itself. So you can do the same thing once again just by hitting the mic, and you can see that being reflected in the app. Let's go to the auto levels real quick. And you have the mic mute and the monitor mix. So just like we have on the physical mic, you can do the same thing in the app. And then you have a toggle to adjust mic position. So right now we're in the near position, and you can see how that's reflected on the little diagram. So you need to be just a couple inches away from the front of the windscreen. If you set it to far, you can essentially move back between 6 and 18 inches, and the mic will automatically boost the gain to keep you loud enough to hear. So this is good for people who don't want the mic right in their face if they're on camera, and then also for people maybe who like to move a little bit, and then other people who just aren't used to talking on mic and they might not know that they should be much closer. But if you have it in the far mode, you're definitely you're going to want to back off of it, because you can hear how it changes the quality of the sound if you're too close to it. So going back to the near mode, now you have 3 toggles for the tone, and these are essentially like EQ settings. So right now in natural, it should be kind of evenly balanced between low frequencies, mid frequencies, and high frequencies. If we switch over to the dark, you can hear how it's definitely boosting up the low frequencies and giving you more of that, boomy radio kind of voice, something you're more in line with what you'll get with the SM7B. The bright is doing the opposite and boosting the high frequencies. So you can tune this essentially to how your voice sounds or what sounds best for your voice. Another way to use these settings is also depending on what's in the mix. If you do have music playing underneath your voice, and you might find that your voice is getting lost in that mix a little bit, if you turn it over to the bright, that might help you separate your voice from the overall mix and make you easier to hear, or just more clearer. So there's different ways to use that. And lastly, there are presets that you can save. So once you get the mic set up to how you like it for your own voice, or set up for guest voice that you have on frequently, you can just save presets. And as far as I can tell, there really isn't a limit to presets. I just randomly saved, I think, 17. And then you can manage them. And if you click on one, it shows you essentially how everything is set, and then delete if you want to delete presets. So that's pretty good. And now let's switch over to manual. And again, you get the mic mute, and I've already talked about the gain. I find that it needs to be pretty high in order to get some pretty good levels, but you can also hear that the mic is really quiet. So even though the gain is boosted pretty high, I'll be quiet and you can listen to the noise signal. And you might also be hearing my computer, but I'm not sure how much that's being picked up. Next, you get the monitor mix as well. And then down here, you've got EQ settings, which are very similar to the tone settings, but maybe not so self-explanatory. So we've got flat, which is once again more like the natural, so not boosting any frequency range. Next, you have a high-pass filter, and a high-pass filter is usually for cutting out very low frequencies in order to reduce some room tone or some ambient noise in your environment. So if you've got like a fan running or an air conditioner, or refrigerator, or something like that, usually turning on a high-pass filter will cut out some of those frequencies. And there's a range, usually between, say, maybe 40 hertz to maybe 100 hertz or so, where a high-pass filter usually is set, or you can set it there yourself. Most human voices don't have much frequency below around 80 hertz, maybe even up to 100, 120 hertz. So that's why you can cut out those frequencies without losing anything. So I'm not really sure where this one is set. Maybe it lives somewhere on Shure's product information, but I'm not sure. So you can hear if that's cutting out my voice or maybe boosting, I don't know. But anyway, that's what a high-pass filter is typically for. Next, we've got a presence boost. So you can see on the diagram how this is boosting kind of like the mid to high frequencies. So, we have much more frequency range in between maybe like 200, 500 up to maybe 2000 hertz. I'm not an audio engineer, but that's a rough estimate. So boosting those frequencies to make us, sound brighter, clearer, easier to understand, or maybe just better depending on your voice. And lastly is the high pass and the presence boost together. So you can hear how that sounds. Okay, and next we have a limiter. So limiter is just going to bring down the peaks in case they get too close to clipping. So you don't want your audio to clip. It just sounds harsh. It's kind of this digital scratchy sound that's never pleasant to hear. So if you have somebody who, gets really loud, or somebody's laughing, and this will hopefully bring down the level of volume before they reach that clipping point. I'm not going to yell into the mic to test it, but that's kind of what it does. So if you're going live, if you're just doing a live show, I would recommend just going ahead and setting that limiter, because you're not really going to lose any apparent quality, but you will protect from clipping. And next we've got a compressor, which has been off this entire time. And compressor essentially is going to take the peaks and valleys of your level and then move them towards the middle, so it's more even sounding. So if you're, start talking kind of quietly, the listener doesn't have to raise the volume. And then if you start talking really loudly, they don't have to lower the volume. The compressors kind of bring everything to, in a certain range and just level out that. So anyway, we can hear how the light compressor sounds, and I'll just keep talking about stuff, and then we can hear how the medium compressor sounds, and I'll keep talking about random things. I'll just keep saying that over and over again. And then the heavy compressor definitely makes a huge difference in how the overall mix sounds, and makes it more heavily processed, more radio tony, I think. Tony, if you got somebody named Tony on your show, you should definitely come over to the heavy compressor. Okay. And again, you've got presets, so save your presets if you want. So that's a look at the app. So let's recap real quick, talk about the positives and negatives of the mic. I didn't mention at the beginning, but this is a dynamic mic, so essentially what that means is that it's not extremely sensitive, so it only really picks up what's really close to it, in contrast to a condenser mic, which is a much more sensitive mic, so it doesn't have to be right up against something in order to get a good signal. Now, there's positives and negatives to both types of mics, and one might be more useful in certain situations. A positive for dynamic mics is they're very good at rejecting, or really not picking up, a lot of ambient noise just because they're not that sensitive. So if you have an acoustically bad room, something that's very reverberant, or where there's a lot of noise happening, fan noise or whatever the case is, a dynamic mic will do a much will sound better potentially than a condenser mic because it will pick up a lot less of that noise. The downside is that you have to be really close to it, I suppose. So if you don't have a room that sounds all that great right out of the box and you haven't done any, work to get it to sound good, a mic like this might work best for you, because that way you don't have to spend money or time or effort to make your room sound better. Functionality in the app is really good. You can make this mic sound pretty good with minimal effort and without really knowing what you're doing. Just kind of play around with the settings in the app, and you should probably get some pretty good results with it. Build quality is great. It seems like a mic that's going to hold up pretty well over time. It's well built, looks nice. A little bit more on that in a minute. It comes with essentially everything that you need in the box except for a stand. It would be nice if the filter, the windscreen was a little bit better. You can probably hear throughout this video the plosive sounds. There's definitely better windscreens out there that would do a better job of minimizing those. You also hear people recommend that you talk across the mic a little bit in order to reduce the plosive noises. That also will change the character of the mic a little bit, so that is kind of a decision that you'll have to make. Some people say that that's the best way to do it. Other people will recommend that you talk right into the top of the mic because that's how it's designed. But yeah, you can just decide for yourself which one you think sounds better. The mic also comes with a 2-year warranty, so just to mention. So let's talk about the negatives. So this is more expensive than competitive USB-only mics. So I did a comparison between the Blue Yeti and talked about how this mic is $250 in comparison to the Blue Yeti, which is usually $130. There are a lot of mics that you can get, USB or XLR only that are about $100. The Rode Pod mics are a good example of that. So yeah, this mic is quite a bit more expensive. I think sound quality-wise, there's really no complaints in terms of just how it sounds and the results that you can get from it. It's not necessarily better than maybe $100 mics. I'm not really sure. I don't have any to compare to, but there's a lot of comparisons on YouTube that do make some more relevant comparisons, so you can decide if you think it's worth it. I think where they've essentially decided that the $250 price point is fair is that it is XLR and USB. So you have a lot of flexibility on how you run the mic. And in different situations, you might find that it's just easier. You don't need a big mixer or something like that. You can just run it in USB and that's perfectly adequate. In other situations, you might have multiple mics and just easier just to run it all into a recorder/mixer. And then you have that functionality as well. And, the app is, once again, makes it very easy to get good sound, but I would say that the price overall is kind of a negative. It is a little bit expensive in comparison to some of the competition. The physical controls, I think, are a positive and a negative. The fact that you need to look at them, you can just kind of feel your way around it. But on the positive side, maybe they don't make a lot of noise. Another negative for me, or depending on how you feel about it, is just the fact that there's these lights on there. You might think it looks cool, or you might think it looks cheesy. I kind of lean towards the cheesy side. On the plus side, if you do run the mic over XLR, the lights are essentially disabled and all the touch functionality is disabled. So next is micro USB. People hate the fact that there's micro USB existing in this day and age. USB-C is the future, although who knows how long that'll last, and USB-C might become obsolete eventually as well. So I don't necessarily think that that's a huge negative. I have other micro USB devices, so I've got some cables lying around, but also, just keep track of the cables that come with this mic and you should be set. If you're getting into, trying to record some high quality vocals or even instruments or something like that, and just kind of a home studio situation, but you don't have a lot of recording equipment and you just want to run it into your computer, this is a fantastic mic. And then you're kind of future proofing yourself or allowing a little bit of an upgrade path as you expand your capabilities and you want to get a mixer, then this mic will work for it as well. So the fact that it can do both, I think, is a definite plus and something that sets it apart from maybe some of the cheaper competition. And overall, I'm pretty happy with how it sounds. I wish the windscreen were a little bit better at rejecting some of the plosive noises. That would be handy, especially for how expensive the mic is. I wish that the windscreen was they should have made a better windscreen. So overall, I hope this video is helpful if you're looking at this mic or just looking at getting, some mic in general for doing podcasting, streaming, or any other video content or whatever it is you wanted to do, and you don't really know what you want or what you need. As always, leave comments in the comments section, and see you in another video. I may do some comparisons to some XLR mics. I'm trying to get my hands on some different XLR mics, but I'm not sure if I'll really be able to get anything that's super interesting or relevant. So if you want to see some comparisons to XLR mics, let me know, and that will motivate me to make that happen. Thanks for watching.